I remember when I was probably 6 or 7, 8 years old at the most. I went in to kiss my stepdad goodnight as he was already falling asleep on the edge of the bed. And he had his back turned to the edge of the bed, and I snuck up behind him and I kissed him kind of right near his ear and his neck. And he came with this big giant bear claw paw and he smacked me right in the forehead. Now, I wasn't expecting that. It was a reaction for him. It was a reaction without thought. It was a reaction without planning. It was a response to a past trauma that had nothing to do with me. I wasn't in the picture. I wasn't in the reaction. I wasn't in the emotion. As far as he knew, I was someone else in that moment in time. See, he was a Vietnam vet who had been in combat as an aircraft mechanic who had been shot down in Vietnam more than one time in a single day. I remember him telling stories about using olive oil for hydraulic fluid to get their UH-60 out of Vietnam with the guys they were trying to rescue. That was his job, was keep the aircraft in the air in order to rescue the guys on the ground who were being shot at. And there were a couple of times he got shot down in the same day and had to make his way out. My mother still has somewhere a propeller that was it's an old wooden propeller. And he hand carried it himself out of the jungles of Vietnam. Both ankles bad from helicopter crashes, effects of the anger that was still inside, the fear, the tremors, the night sweats, the whole thing. It was a tough life. And in that day, the diagnosis of PTSD didn't really exist. So veterans like that weren't really treated to the same level they are today. There was no awareness. But see, even today, PTSD, PTSS, as some call it, the difference being that PTSD is the most common nomenclature. It means post-traumatic stress disorder, meaning there's something wrong with you because of the stress that you've been through. The PTSS is the way some people label it, to say it's more of a syndrome, meaning it has an impact on you, but that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It just means there's a residual effect. I think PTSS is probably a better description, although I'm not a psychiatrist and I don't play one on TV. So I'll leave the labeling to somebody else. I can see why both would exist. I can tell you this, though. It's not a simple description which allows us to understand. Simply putting a label on it, while one distinction versus the other might help a little bit in the explanation, doesn't really help us to understand what's going on in the life of someone suffering with PTSD or PTSS. And the realities of life for them are not the same that they are for everyone else. I can tell you, and you've probably, if you've watched this program for any period of time, heard me talk about my wife being a rape victim from when she was 19 years old. And all of the triggers around that event, the date, the time, the place, the geography, the cologne he was wearing, are still triggers in her life that when those scenarios all line up too well, the chemicals in her body react as though the same event is about to happen again. And that's not something she thinks through. It's something she has to think through to get past it. It's not that she's planning to meditate on that thought, but she does have to meditate against it to take that thought captive, to keep it from taking over and reacting. And so it is with victims of PTSD for other reasons. Firefighters, nursing room, emergency room surgeons and medical techs who work hands-on when people are losing their lives and there's nothing you can do about it. Combat veterans, obviously, firefighters, peace officers. But the list goes on and on. Sexual harassment or sexual assault survivors, depending on the degree and the severity of the activity against them. All of these people, some even people who've been mugged and held at knife point or gunpoint where they seriously feared for their life will have some traumatic effect. Survivors of domestic violence will have some lasting effect. And yet, As a society, we often don't get it. We don't hear the true story from the survivor with PTSD. And so it's easy to kind of gloss over it and go, okay, I get it. I've seen a label. I know how it applies. I'm good. That's all I need to know. I don't want to suffer with it. And so the reality is we don't treat them in a lot of capacities. We don't treat them at all. But when we do treat them, we don't treat them with the love and the respect and the grace and the mercy that is necessary for simple human loving compassion and survival. So this is my invitation to you. I've known Mark Delgado in and out of different circles for a few years now. Recognize his face when I see him at different places. I saw him yesterday morning, and it seemed serendipitous that we would run into each other in the place that we did at the time that we did. I've had a chance, and you'd have to go back a ways because it was at the Content 2017, the Christian Media Association's annual summit. I had a chance to interview cast and crew of the movie We Are Stronger. And so those interviews are there. I'll see if I can find them in my Facebook timeline and re-tag them in the comments of this post so you can watch some of them to get a better understanding of who is in this movie and what it's all about. The trailer itself, I will have to link that later, or maybe Mark can link that for us on here, because the trailer itself is mind-blowing. But to get a chance to talk to the cast and crew and understand how the film came about, why they decided to do it, what the actors' commitment and involvement for the movie was, because some of that will blow your mind. This is an opportunity you're going to have in May. I believe it's the second week of May. I think I put on there the 12th through the 14th, but it's that Monday through Wednesday, whatever that date is, and that may be the 14th through the 15th or 16th or something like that. It's the second Monday in May. That I know for sure. So I want you to come. I want you to come to the Harkins Theater in South Lake. We'll be doing a photo booth with the cast and crew. We'll be introducing them. They'll answer questions. They'll tell you about the movie and how you can get involved in what they do in prisons and other places where people are suffering PTSD and life is not easy for them. You'll have a chance to speak with someone if it's something that you're struggling with. And by all means, tickets average about $15 a piece, but you are encouraged to come. If that's not in your budget, just tell Mark, that's not in my budget, but I really need to see this film. Or my dad or my mom suffers with this and I don't understand and I want more insight. We'll make a seat available for you somehow. But if you can buy 1 or 10 or 50 tickets, send Mark a message and tell him, I want to pay for 50 tickets so our homeless veterans of Dallas can come and be a part of this. I'll pay for 50 tickets so that the firefighters in our community can come and witness this and be a part of this movie and meet the cast and crew. There are 3 days that Harkins Theater has committed to showing this. If there's enough turnout, maybe like San Antonio, it'll be there for 3 weeks. The impact of this movie is huge. It's a tremendous residual impact, not just on the people whose lives have been affected by PTSD, whether they are the victim or they are the caregiver for. But the ripple effect in the community is tremendous as well. I'm encouraging you to be a part of this, to show up, to bring someone who's either suffering or very near to someone who is, because they're understanding of the impact that it has on their life and how you can deal with them in better ways. That's going to be powerful. Will you take some time? Just think about it, consider it, check your calendar. It's second Monday in May, Monday through Wednesday, one of those evenings, 6 to 10 p.m. Come out and join us at the Harkins Theater in South Lake Town Square and get a better understanding for the impact that the movie We Are Stronger has for the community who suffers with PTSD. I know my stepdad's not the only one who reacts to an image that he sees in his mind. He doesn't anymore, he's gone on. But he's not the only one who would react to an image that he saw in his mind that took him to a place and time that no longer existed. There are people even today, they walk the streets of Dallas talking to themselves. They live in another world, and it's another place and another time where trauma stopped the evolution of their life, where trauma brought them to a place of not being able to move forward. They need help. and we can help them. And one of the best ways that you can help them is to get involved and better understand their plight. So this is my personal challenge to you. You got more than enough time, you got more than enough heads up to set aside a couple of bucks a day if 15 bucks is tough for you. A couple of bucks a day between now and May 13th, and you're good to go. Make that commitment. But I also want you to consider buying a ticket for somebody else. Just get involved. Just get involved. That's my challenge to you. Tell Mark I said hi when you reach out to him and tell him you want to be involved. If you're a business and you would like to support, there are some sponsorships opportunities available where there may be some media exposure for you as well, but some great opportunities for you to invest in more than a ticket or two. If you want to do that, contact Mark. He's spearheading this whole thing. He'll put you in touch with Carla and the ministry, and you can figure out what it is that they're up to so you can get involved in a deeper way. I'm J Loren Norris, and you've been watching Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.